FAA OSMP's General Chapter A Fundamentals of Electricity and Electronics. Question number 57. What is the formula for power in a DC circuit? AMI K12. Power equals voltage times current. P equals E times I. Question 58. What is the relationship between mechanical and electrical power? 1 horsepower equals 746 watts. Question 59. What is it meant by true power in an AC circuit? The product of the circuit voltage and the current that is in phase with this voltage. Question 60. In what units is true power expressed? True power is expressed in watts. Question 61. What is it meant by apparent power in an AC circuit? The product of the current voltage and the circuit current, without reference to phase angle. Question 62. In what units is apparent power expressed? In volts-amps. In volt-amps. What is it meant? Question 63. What is it meant by reactive power in an AC circuit? The power consumed in the inductive and capacitance reactance in an AC circuit. Reactive power is also called wattless power. Question 64. In what units is reactive power expressed? In volt-amps reactive, VAR, or kilovolt-amps reactive, kVAR. Question 65. What is it meant by power factor in an AC circuit? The ratio of true power to apparent power. It is also the ratio of current resistance to current independence. Question 66. How many watts of power are consumed by 1/5 horsepower 24-volt DC motor that is 75% effective? Power is effectively expressed as efficiency equals power over power in. Power consumed is the same as power in 1 horsepower equals 746 watts. Therefore, power in equals power out over efficiency equals 1/5 horsepower times 746 watts over horsepower over 0.75 equals 0.2 horsepower over 746 watt horsepower over 0.75 equals 199 watts. Question 91. What is the basic function of a switch? AMI K18. Switches control the current flow in most aircraft electrical circuits. Question 92. What is a relay? A relay is a simple and electromechanical switch. Therefore, a small amount of current can control a large amount of current. Question 101. What type of drawing depicts electrical components with respect to each other within a circuit? AMI A K25. An electrical schematic. Chapter B. Aircraft drawings. Question 13. What is the purpose of a sketch of a repair? AMI B K2. It shows a specific bit of information and includes the minimum amount of detail needed to manufacture the part. Chapter D. Fluid lines and fittings. Question 12. What is the minimum amount of slack that must be left when a flexible hose is installed in an aircraft hydraulic system? AMI D K4. The hose that should be at least 5% longer than the distance between the fittings. This extra length provides the needed slack. Question 13. How much pressure is used to proof test a flexible hose assembly? AMI D K4. This varies with the hose, but is generally about 2 times the recommended operating pressure of the hose. Question 31. What kind of measuring instrument is used to measure the runout of an aircraft engine crankshaft? Chapter E. Aircraft materials, hardware, and processes. Question 31. What kind of measuring instrument is used to measure out the runout of an aircraft engine crankshaft? AMI EK6, a dial indicator. Question 32. What kind of measuring instruments are used to measure the fit between a rocker arm shaft and its bushings? The outer diameter of the shaft is measured with a micrometer caliper. The inside of the bushing is measured with a telescoping gauge and the same micrometer caliper. Question 33. In what increments can a vernier micrometer caliper be read? 1/10,000th of an inch, 0.0001 inch. Question 34. What is an advantage of a vernier caliper over a micrometer caliper? The range of a vernier caliper is far greater than a micrometer caliper. Question 35. What precision tool is used to measure the piston ring side clearance? The thickness gauge. Question 36. What precision tools are used to measure the inside diameter of a cylinder? A telescoping gauge and a micrometer caliper. Question 37. What precision tools are used to measure the inside diameter of a small hole? A small hole gauge and a micrometer caliper. Question 38. What kind of solder is recommended for soldering electrical wires? 60-40 resin core solder, so it's lead tin mix. Question 39. What is the function of the flux used in soldering? Flux covers the clean and heated metal to keep oxygen away from it so oxides cannot form. Oxides keeps the solder from adhering to the surface of the metal. Chapter G. Cleaning and Corrosion Control. Question 6. What causes corrosion? AMI GK2. Corrosion is a natural phenomenon that attacks metal by chemically or electrochemically action and converts it into a metallic compound such as an oxide, hydroxide, or sulfate. Corrosion occurs because of the tendency for metals to return to their natural state. Noble metals like gold or platinum do not corrode since they are chemically uncombined in their natural state. Conditions that can cause corrosion to develop or worsen are moisture, acts as an electrolyte, oxygen, acts as a catalyst, chemicals innate or catalyze the electrochemical process, and temperature accelerates the processes. Question 7. Where is fill-form corrosion most likely to occur on an aircraft? AMI GK3. Under the dense coating or the top coat enamel such as polyurethane, fill-form corrosion is caused by improper cured primer. Question 8. Where is fretting corrosion most likely to occur on an aircraft? In a location where there is a slight amount of relative movement between two components and no way for the corrosive residue to be removed as it forms. Question 9. Where is intergranular corrosion most likely to occur on an aircraft? Along the grain boundaries of aluminum alloys that have been improperly heat treated. Extruded aluminum alloys is susceptible to the intergranular corrosion. Question 10. Where is the stress corrosion most likely to occur on an aircraft? In any metal components that is continuously under tensile stress, the metal around the holes in casting fitted with pressure in bushings is susceptible to corrosion, stress corrosion. Chapter 8. Chapter H. Mathematics. Question 27. What is it meant by a ratio and how is a ratio expressed? AMI HK4. A fraction that compares one number to another. For example, 6 to 2 is a ratio. Chapter I. Regulations, Maintenance Forms, Records, and Publications. Question 1. Who is authorized to perform a 100-hour inspection on an aircraft? AMI IK1. A certified aviation mechanic who holds an airframe and power plant rating. Question 2. Who is authorized to perform an annual inspection on an aircraft? A certified A&P mechanic who holds an inspection authorization license. Question 3. Can a certified A&P mechanic supervise an unlicensed person as the unlicensed person performs a 100-hour inspection on an aircraft? No. Only a certified mechanic may personally perform the inspection. Question 4. Who is authorized to rebuild an aircraft engine after and issue a zero-time maintenance record? Only the manufacturer of the engine or facility approved by the manufacturer. Question 5. Which FAR specifies the required maintenance records? 14 CFR 91.417 specifies you must keep record of maintenance, preventative maintenance, major repairs and alterations in a 100-hour and annual hour and progressive inspections. Question 6. Are indications included in federal regulation mandatory or optional? Instructions included in the federal regulations mandatory or optional. They are mandatory. Question 7. Who is authorized to approve an aircraft for return to service after a major repair of an aircraft? An aircraft mechanic holding an inspection authorization. Question 8. Who is authorized to perform preventative maintenance on an aircraft that is not flown under Part 121, 127, 129, or 135? The holder of a pilot certificate that flies that particular aircraft is allowed to. Question 9. Who is authorized to rebuild an aircraft engine and issue a zero-time record? The manufacturer of the engine or facility approved by the manufacturer. Question 10. Who is authorized to approve an aircraft for return to service after a minor alteration has been performed on the aircraft? A certified aviation mechanic holding an airframe rating. Question 11. What is the minimum age for an aviation mechanic certification? 18 years old. Question 12. What are the 2 ratings that can be issued to an aviation mechanic certificate? Airframe and power plant ratings. Question 13. How many months of practical experience is needed to qualify for the aviation mechanic certificate with both airframe and power plant ratings? 30 months. What can be used in place of the 30 months of experience to qualify to take the mechanic testing? A certificate of compliance from a certified aviation mechanic technician school. Question 15. What type of experience is required to take the test for an aviation mechanic certification? Practical experience with the procedures, practices, materials, tools, machine tools, and equipment generally used in constructing and maintaining or altering airframes or power plant appropriate to the rating sought. Question 16. What tests are used to demonstrate that a mechanic applicant has the proper knowledge? The written knowledge test. What tests are used to demonstrate that a mechanic applicant meets the minimum skill requirements? The oral and practical testings. Question 18. What certificate and rating are required for a mechanic to conduct a 100-hour inspection and improve the aircraft return to service? An aviation mechanic maintenance certificate with both airframe and power plant ratings. Question 19. What certificate and rating are required for a mechanic to conduct an annual inspection and approve the aircraft for return to service? An aviation mechanic certificate with an inspection authorization. Question 20. When the making and permanent changes of address, is the holder of an aviation mechanic certificate required to notify the FAA within 30 days? Question 31. Is a certified aviation mechanic with airframe and power plant ratings authorized to perform a 100-hour annual inspection? No. Only a 100-hour inspection authorization is required to perform an annual inspection. A certified aviation mechanic may not supervise the maintenance, preventative maintenance, or alteration of, or approve and return to service any aircraft or appliance or thereof for any mechanic maintenance is related unless he or she has met with what stipulation? The mechanic must have had satisfactorily performed the work concerned at an earlier date. I do not know that question. That was a weird question. Question 23. Is it permissible for mechanic with an airframe and power plant rating to replace the tachometer cable for magnetic drag tachometer? Yes, this does not constitute a repair to an instrument. Question 24. If a certified aviation mechanic with an airframe and power plant rating allowed to zero the pointers of a fuel pressure gauge? No, a mechanic is not allowed to make any repairs or alterations to an aircraft instrument. Question 27. What record must be made of the compliance of an airworthiness directive? An entry must be made in the aircraft maintenance records stating that the AD has been complied with. This entry must include the AD number and revision date, the date of the compliance, the aircraft total time in service, the method of compliance, and whether or not this is a recurring AD. If it is a recurring AD, the time of the next compliance must be noted. Question 28. What minimum information must be contained in the maintenance record? All maintenance entries must, at a minimum, include a description of the work performed, reference to the data acceptable to the administrator, the date of the work was completed, the name and certificate number of the person performing the work, and if different, the signature and certificate number of the person approving the aircraft return to service. Question 42. What determines if an alteration or repair is considered major? The list of types of repairs and alterations that are considered major are listed in the 14 CFR Part 43 Appendix A. Question 43. What determines if an alteration or repair is considered minor? If it is considered minor, it is not listed in the 14 CFR Part 43 Appendix A as a major repair or alteration. Question 44. What is done with the aviation maintenance record that is included the current status of the applicable airworthiness directive when the aircraft is sold? These maintenance records must be transferred with the aircraft when it's sold. What is a type certificate data sheet? The TCDS is a formal description of the aircraft engine or propeller. It lists its limitations and information required for the type or certification, including airspeed limits, weight limits, and thrust limitations, and so forth. Question 46. What are the aircraft specifications? Documents that include basically the same information as a TCDS but are issued for aircraft engines and propellers certified under the Air Commerce Regulations. Question 47. What document specifies the type of fuel that should be used in an airplane? The TCDS for that airplane. Question 48. What document would you use to find the control surface movement for a specified airplane? The TCDS for that airplane. Question 49. Why is it necessary to refer to the TCDS for an airplane when concluding a 100-hour inspection? The TCDS includes the specifications required for the aircraft to maintain its airworthiness status. Question 50. What FAA publication describes method of non-destructive testing? AC 43-3, non-destructive testing in aircraft. Question 51. What is the purpose of an AD? It provides guidance and information to owners and operators of the aircraft, informing them of the discovery of a condition that prevents the aircraft from continuing to meet its conditions for airworthiness. Question 52. What is the first step in the instance of an AD? A Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, NPRM, is published in the Federal Register. Question 53. How is information on an AD disseminated? It is printed and distributed by first-class mail to the registered owners and certain known operators of the products is affected. Question 54. What type of AD may be adopted without an NPRM? ADs of an urgent nature are issued as immediately adopted rules without prior notice. Question 55. How is information on an emergency AD sent to the owner or operator of an affected aircraft or other product by first-class mail, telegram, and other electronic methods? Question 56. Where can you find a list of all the ADs that apply to the aircraft engines, aircrafts, and propellers or appliances? On the FAA's websites under the Dynamic Registry System, DRS. Question 57. How can you get information on subscribing to airworthiness directives? Contact FAA, Manufacturing Standard Selections, P.O. Boxes 26460, Oklahoma City, OK 73125-0460. Question 58. What is the significance of the identification number 91-08-07R1? 91 is the AD issue date. 08 was issued in its 8th biweekly period, 15th or 16th week of 1991. 07 is the 7th AD issued during this period. R1 is the first revision of this AD. So 91 is the 1991, 08, 8th biweekly, 07, 7th AD issue during this period, and R1 is the first revision. Question 59. Is it mandatory that the information in an AC be complied with? No. This information is advisory in nature. Question 60. With which part of 14 CFR is AC 43.13-1B associated? 14 CFR Part 43. Question 61. May all of the information in the AC 4313-1B be used as approved data? No. It is acceptable but not necessary approved data. Question 62. What is the purpose of general aviation airworthiness alerts? They contain information gleaned from malfunction and defects reports to warn maintenance personnel of possible problems that have been reported, not may. Question 81. What FAA regulation provides guidance for the use of placards when operating with inoperative equipment? 14 CFR 91.213. Chapter J, Physics for Aviation. Question 4. What formula is used to find the amount of work done when an object is moved across the floor? Work equals force times distance. Question 5. What determines the mechanical advantage of an arrangement of ropes and pulleys? The number of ropes supported the weight. Question 6. What determines the mechanical advantage of a gear train? The ratio of the numbers of teeth on the drive gear and the number of teeth on the driven gear.